July 27th, 1944. Near Saint-Denis-le-Gast, Normandy, France. The 88mm shell punched through the Sherman's hull with a metallic shriek that should have spelled death for all 5 crew members inside. A Panther gunner from the 2nd SS Panzer Division Das Reich watched through his sight, waiting for the inevitable eruption of flames that always followed a successful penetration. Target destroyed. Driver, advance 20 metres for better angle on the second tank. But the flames never came. The Sherman's turret traversed toward them, its 76mm gun seeking vengeance. The German loader, already reaching for another round, froze in confusion. That American tank should have been a burning coffin by now. Every training manual, every combat experience from Russia to Africa, every piece of intelligence they possessed said so. What the Panther crew witnessed that morning was a revolution in tank warfare that German forces had completely missed. The M4A376W Sherman they had just engaged was equipped with a wet-stowage ammunition system, double-walled storage bins filled with 38 gallons of fire-suppressant liquid that prevented the catastrophic ammunition fires German gunners had counted on since 1942. This modification, present in every Sherman tank produced after January 1944, had reduced the probability of fire after penetration from 60 to 80% to just 10 to 15%. Across the Norman countryside that morning, 2nd Armoured Division was attacking with 104 of these improved Shermans. Not a single German intelligence report, not one briefing from the Waffenamt, not even whispered rumours from the front had warned German tank crews that their primary tactical assumption about American armour had become dangerously obsolete. The transformation had begun in the aftermath of disaster. February 14th, 1943, Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. American armour lay burning across the valley floor, M4 Shermans turned into crematoriums by German 88mm guns. Of 300 American tanks engaged, 183 were destroyed, most consumed by ammunition fires that killed entire crews in seconds. The British Operational Research Section documented that 65% of knocked-out Shermans burned completely. American studies showed even worse figures, up to 80% in some engagements. The Ordnance Department's Tank Automotive Centre analysed every knocked-out Sherman in North Africa. Their conclusion was stark. Ammunition propellant, not gasoline, caused most fires. The 70-plus rounds stored in open racks throughout the fighting compartment became instant incendiaries when struck by hot steel fragments. The solution emerged through iterative design. A chemical engineer from DuPont, attending a tank board meeting in November 1943, suggested surrounding ammunition with liquid. Initial proposals seemed absurd, filling the entire fighting compartment with water, creating submarine-like compartments. But through development, the concept evolved into elegance. Double-walled ammunition containers with liquid-filled cavities positioned in the hull floor away from likely impact points. By December 1943, Pressed Steel Car Company in Pennsylvania was retooling its assembly lines. The first M4A176W rolled off the production line on January 3, 1944, the W designation standing for wet, though few beyond factory floors understood its significance. Testing at Aberdeen Proving Ground validated the concept beyond expectations. In controlled tests, technicians fired captured German 75mm and 88mm guns at ammunition bins. Dry storage detonated in 73% of hits. Wet storage burned in only 15% of cases. Films of the tests, classified until 1963, showed the dramatic difference. Dry ammunition erupting in pillars of flame versus wet storage producing small puffs of smoke quickly extinguished by spreading liquid. The modification was comprehensive. Each ammunition bin consisted of concentric double-walled cells holding 10 rounds, with the space between walls filled initially with water, then water-glycol mixture, and finally a specialized solution called AmmuDamp. The chemistry was crucial. Pure water froze in winter. Glycol prevented freezing but caused corrosion, while amudamp, ethyl sodium potassium, phosphate solved both problems while maintaining fire suppression. The M4A 375W carried 100 rounds in floor storage plus 4 ready rounds, protected by 37.1 gallons total. The 76mm variants stored 71 rounds with 36.6 gallons of protection. The system added 900 pounds to tank weight but dramatically improved survivability. By April 1944, 130 M4A 176W Shermans had arrived in England. The 2nd and 3rd Armoured Divisions each received 52 of these tanks, though initial deployment was delayed. Concerns about training on the new 76mm gun and ammunition supply logistics kept them from the D-Day landings. These improved Shermans would first see combat during Operation Cobra, beginning July 25, 1944. Operation Cobra commenced at 09:38 hours on July 25, 1944, with the heaviest aerial bombardment in tactical support history. As smoke cleared from the carpet bombing, American armour surged forward through the gap at St. Lo. Leading elements included the 2nd and 3rd Armoured Divisions, equipped with the 1st Wet-Stowage Shermans to see combat in Europe. Panzer Lehr Division, devastated by the bombardment, positioned surviving Panthers in ambush positions. German after-action reports captured when Panzer Lehr's headquarters was overrun reflected growing confusion about American tank resilience. Panthers were achieving penetrations on Shermans at favourable ranges, yet many targets continued fighting or withdrew under their own power, rather than burning as expected. The German crews didn't know they had encountered M4A 376W and M4A 176W Shermans from the 67th and 33rd Armoured Regiments. Of the tanks, German gunners believed destroyed, many would return to action within 48 hours after field repairs. Those that burned had typically been struck in the engine compartment. The ammunition protection had worked exactly as designed. German defensive positions, calculated on assumptions of American tank losses, proved inadequate when protected. Shermans survived at unexpected rates. Counterattacks launched, assuming weakened American spearheads met stronger opposition than anticipated. The engineering behind the system represented exceptional wartime innovation. Each storage bin consisted of precisely manufactured double-walled containers, with 1.5-inch gaps between inner and outer shells. These gaps contained approximately 0.5 gallons of liquid per 10-round cell. The development process had been remarkably rapid by military standards. Initial water-only systems tested in October 1943 proved the concept, but revealed problems: freezing in cold weather, corrosion of brass cartridge cases, and bacterial growth in stagnant water. Adding ethylene glycol solved freezing but accelerated corrosion. The final solution, amudamp, contained ethyl sodium potassium phosphate with rust inhibitors and biocides. This mixture remained liquid to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, prevented corrosion, inhibited bacterial growth, and actually improved fire suppression over pure water. Each tank required initial filling, then periodic checking of levels through inspection ports. According to Ordnance Department records, the system's effectiveness exceeded projections. When shell fragments penetrated the bin, liquid would flood out, soaking any exposed propellant before it could ignite. Even if some propellant caught fire, the liquid would prevent spread to other rounds. Tanks went from total loss to minor damage with this single modification. At Kummersdorf Proving Ground, German technical intelligence was conducting analysis of American armour, using specimens captured in Tunisia before Wet-Stowage existed. The evaluation focused on M4A1 tanks from the 1st Armoured Division, captured at Sidi Bou Zid in February 1943. German technical reports meticulously documented every aspect of Sherman design: armour composition, engine performance, transmission characteristics, and ammunition storage. Intelligence bulletins distributed to panzer units contained detailed drawings of ammunition rack placement in sponsons above the track level, with recommendations to target these areas for maximum effect. This intelligence, distributed as doctrine to all panzer units, became standard for German tank crews. Gunnery schools from Putlos to Paderborn taught students to aim for Sherman sponsons. Range cards issued to anti-tank units highlighted these areas in red. The tactical doctrine was embedded so thoroughly that even when sponson hits stopped producing fires, crews assumed they had simply missed the ammunition. The timing proved catastrophic for German forces. Their comprehensive Sherman analysis concluded just as American factories began producing modified variants. Every subsequent intelligence update referenced the older evaluation as definitive. When frontline units reported unusual Sherman survivability, staff officers dismissed these as exaggerations from combat-stressed troops. The transformation of American tank production in early 1944 represented industrial coordination unprecedented in warfare. Fisher Tank Arsenal in Grand Blanc, Michigan, transitioned from M4A2 to M4A3 production, then incorporated the new modifications without stopping the production line. Between February 1944 and March 1945, Fisher produced 3,071 M4A 375W tanks. Hull floors needed complete redesign to accommodate ammunition bins below the turret basket. This meant new stamping dies, modified welding jigs, altered assembly sequences. The partial turret basket, replacing the full rotating floor to allow hull ammunition access, required redesigning the entire turret traverse mechanism. Hydraulic lines, electrical cables, and control linkages all needed rerouting around the new ammunition positions. Pressed Steel Car Company in Pennsylvania achieved similar production milestones. Starting M4A 176W production in January 1944, they manufactured 3,426 units through July 1945. They had to integrate the ammunition system with the new 76mm gun installation, a larger weapon requiring turret modifications, different ammunition, and rebalanced weight distribution. By June 1944, American factories were producing only Wet-Stowage variants. The transition had been achieved so smoothly that German intelligence, working from year-old captured specimens, remained unaware of the fundamental change. The hedge country of Normandy became an inadvertent testing ground for the modification's effectiveness. The bocage terrain forced combat at ranges where German guns easily penetrated Sherman armour, yet American tank losses proved surprisingly recoverable. Third Army's maintenance battalions reported recovering and repairing 67% of knocked-out Shermans during Operation Cobra. Of tanks that would have been total fire losses with dry storage, approximately 70% returned to service with the new protection. This invisible multiplication of American tank strength confounded German planning at every level. German commanders expressed frustration in war diaries about American tanks appearing to have inexhaustible reserves. Panthers were achieving hits, even penetrations, but many weren't producing permanent kills. American maintenance units were recovering tanks German crews thought destroyed, repairing them and returning them to combat. The mathematical model German staff used for calculating enemy strength, based on permanent losses from ammunition fires, no longer functioned. Major General Maurice Rose's 3rd Armoured Division spearheaded the assault with approximately 200 improved Shermans. In 7 days of intense combat, the division advanced 100 miles, fought dozens of engagements, and maintained operational momentum despite German counterattacks specifically designed to destroy American armour. The German response, Operation Lüttich, the Morton counteroffensive, launched August 7th with 4 panzer divisions aimed at cutting off American spearheads. The plan assumed American armoured units would be exhausted and depleted after their rapid advance. German intelligence estimated American tank strength at 60% of actual numbers, missing the recovered and repaired Shermans that the modification had saved. The 30th Infantry Division's stand at Mortain, supported by tank battalions equipped with modified Shermans, shattered German offensive power. The 743rd Tank Battalion absorbed repeated attacks by SS and Wehrmacht panzer units. Despite suffering numerous penetrations, the battalion maintained cohesion and combat effectiveness throughout the six-day battle. The Battle of Aracourt in September 1944 provided history's clearest demonstration of the new reality. When the 113th Panzer Brigade attacked American positions on September 19th, they expected to achieve tactical surprise and destroy American armour through superior German gunnery. The initial German attack achieved numerous hits on Shermans of the 4th Armoured Division. Panthers and Panzer IVs reported multiple penetrations on American tanks at favourable ranges, but the American response defied expectations. Instead of withdrawing with heavy losses, the 4th Armoured counter-attacked with unexpected strength. The statistics tell the story. The 4th Armoured Division suffered 151 Sherman losses during the Aracourt battles, but of these, only 41 were complete write-offs. The remaining 110 were repaired and returned to service, most within a week. German intelligence, counting all 151 as permanent losses, calculated that 4th Armoured should have been combat ineffective. Instead, it maintained offensive operations throughout. General Patton's initial scepticism about 76mm Shermans reversed after Aracourt. Third Army subsequently accepted only 76mm armed Wet-Stowage variants, recognizing that improved firepower plus enhanced survivability created superior combat capability. As autumn 1944 progressed, second-generation improved Shermans entered combat. The M4A3E8 Easy 8 incorporated lessons learned, improved suspension, wider tracks for better mobility despite the added weight, and refined ammunition storage with better crew access. These tanks began reaching frontline units in October 1944. The specialized assault variant, the M4A3E2 Jumbo, incorporated Wet-Stowage from initial production starting June 1944. With frontal armour reaching 4 inches and turret armour up to 6 inches, the Jumbo could absorb tremendous punishment. Combined with ammunition protection, these tanks achieved survival rates that bewildered German observers. By November 1944, First Army fielded 105 M4A3E2s across various tank battalions. Third Army had 90 Jumbos in 6 battalions. These tanks spearheaded assaults on fortified positions, absorbing punishment that would have destroyed entire companies of earlier Shermans. Operation Watch on Rhine, Germany's last desperate offensive in the West, launched December 16, 1944, based on flawed intelligence about American armoured capabilities. German planning assumed American tank losses would follow patterns established in 1943. The offensive's success depended on rapid destruction of American armoured reserves. German planners calculated that concentrated panzer attacks would eliminate American tank units piecemeal. These calculations assumed traditional Sherman vulnerability. When protected, Sherman survived at unexpected rates, the operational timeline collapsed. SS Obersturmbannführer Joachim Peiper's Kampfgruppe, spearheading 1st SS Panzer Division's attack, encountered this reality near Stoumont on December 19th. His Panthers achieved numerous penetrations on Shermans of the 743rd Tank Battalion at close range, yet American resistance continued. In post-war interrogations, Peiper expressed frustration at American tanks continuing to fight after taking hits that should have destroyed them. The 761st Tank Battalion, the African-American Black Panthers, demonstrated these advantages throughout their 183 days of continuous combat, including the Ardennes fighting. Staff Sergeant Reuben Rivers, posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, exemplified the survivability provided. His tank absorbed 2 direct hits on November 19th that penetrated the hull, but didn't ignite the ammunition. Rivers continued fighting despite wounds, his crew surviving hits that would have killed them all in earlier Sherman models. As 1945 began, German forces were capturing intact wet-stowage Shermans with increasing frequency. Operation Nordwind resulted in the capture of numerous M4 A375W tanks from the 43rd Tank Battalion near Herrlichheim in January. German crews operated these captured vehicles for several days without recognizing the significance of the liquid-filled ammunition containers. The Waffenamt's Technical Intelligence Branch had effectively ceased functioning by early 1945. The few technical specialists still working focused on desperate wonder weapon projects rather than analyzing enemy equipment. Even if frontline troops had recognized the modification's significance, no mechanism existed to process and disseminate this intelligence. The U.S. Army's Operations Research Office, in their post-war study ORO-T-117, documented the transformation. Pre-modification. Shermans burned in 60 to 80% of penetrating hits. Wet-stowage variants burned in only 10 to 15% of cases. This reduction multiplied American armoured effectiveness invisibly. A tank battalion with 50 Shermans suffering 30 penetrating hits would have lost 18 to 24 tanks to fire with dry storage. With wet stowage, only 3 to 5 would burn, leaving 25 to 27 repairable. The battalion maintains combat effectiveness instead of requiring complete reconstitution. Across the European theatre, this mathematical advantage accumulated strategically. Conservative estimates suggest the modification prevented burning in at least 1,000 tanks, representing 5,000 trained crew members saved and dozens of battalions maintaining combat effectiveness. German planning never incorporated these realities. Every operational plan used obsolete data about Sherman vulnerability. This systematic error, repeated across thousands of engagements, contributed directly to German defeat. Post-war interrogations and memoirs confirm the intelligence gap. Not a single German account from the war years mentions recognition of this modification. Otto Carius, who destroyed over 150 enemy tanks, wrote extensively about combat against Shermans in Tigers in the Mud, without mentioning unusual fire resistance. Ernst Bachmann's account of his famous stand never mentions surprise at Sherman's surviving hits. Unit histories compiled by veteran associations provide additional evidence. Histories of Panzer Lehr, 2nd SS Panzer, 116th Panzer Division, contain no recognition of improved Sherman survivability. These are not official histories subject to censorship, but private recollections among comrades. The wet-stowage intelligence failure represents one of the most complete intelligence breakdowns in modern warfare. Multiple factors created this blind spot. German technical evaluation of Sherman tanks occurred using specimens captured before the modification existed. By the time wet-stowage Shermans entered combat, German forces had shifted to defensive operations with limited opportunity for systematic technical intelligence collection. Organizational dysfunction prevented field observations from reaching analysts. German technical intelligence divided between multiple competing agencies with poor information sharing. Resource constraints meant captured vehicles went immediately into service rather than evaluation. Cultural factors, including overconfidence in German technical superiority, reduced perceived need for detailed enemy equipment analysis. The modification's invisibility proved crucial. It didn't change Sherman's appearance, didn't require new tactics, didn't announce its presence. German intelligence, looking for dramatic changes, missed the subtle revolution occurring inside American tanks. The wet-stowage story offers enduring lessons. Technical intelligence requires continuous updating. The enemy studied yesterday may not be the enemy faced today. Innovations need not be revolutionary to be decisive. Evolutionary improvements solving specific problems can prove more valuable than dramatic redesigns. For military engineers, the modification exemplifies effective design philosophy. Identify the specific problem, develop practical solution, implement across production. The modification that can be deployed immediately may trump the perfect solution requiring years of development. Intelligence services see cautionary lessons about analytical blind spots. The enemy capability that seems impossible may be the one that proves decisive. In warfare, where information equals ammunition, intelligence failure proves as deadly as mechanical failure. The Sherman tank wet-stowage ammunition system reduced catastrophic fire probability by 75% and saved thousands of Allied lives. Yet its greatest success was remaining undetected by German forces throughout World War II's crucial final year. From introduction in January 1944 through war's end in May 1945, every major American armoured operation employed substantial numbers of improved Shermans. German forces encountered them from Operation Cobra through the Reich's final defence, capturing and operating hundreds without recognising their fundamental improvement. American engineers designed the system to save lives, not deceive enemies. Yet its invisibility to German intelligence multiplied its effectiveness beyond calculation. The modification validated American design philosophy. Practical solutions implemented quickly proved superior to German pursuit of technical perfection. History records wet stowage as crucial technical improvement that helped win World War II. More accurately, it should be remembered as the modification that won by remaining hidden, achieving victory through enemy ignorance as much as American engineering. German tank crews fought the wrong enemy with obsolete tactics based on faulty assumptions, and lost. The modification didn't just save American lives, it shortened the war by maintaining American armoured strength at levels that accelerated German defeat. In this hidden advantage multiplied across 1,000 battles, we find one of World War II's most remarkable yet unknown stories, a simple modification that changed everything while remaining invisible to those who most needed to see it.